perfect snack.
It's gotta be when I'm really craving it and it's convenient.
Could you be more specific?
When it's cravenient.
Okay.
Like a freshly baked cookie made with real butter, available right now in the street at AM/PM, or a savory breakfast sandwich I can grab in just a second at AM/PM.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Well, yeah, we're talking about what I crave.
Which is anything from AM/PM.
What more could you want?
Stop by AM/PM where the snacks and drinks are perfectly craveable and convenient. That's Cravenience. AM/PM, too much good stuff.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cash Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cash Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
This next one's for all you CarMax shoppers who just want to buy a car your way.
Wanna check some cars out in person? Wanna look some more from your house? Okay.
Want to pretend you know about engines?
Nah, I'll just chat with CarMax online instead.
Wanna get pre-qualified from your couch? Woo! Wanna get that car
ASAP!
You wanna do it your way.
Want to drive? CarMax.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
Hey, Dub Nation. If you're traveling to cheer on the Warriors this season, then the most important thing to pack is the United Airlines app. You can track your bags, change your flight or your seat, get a personalized map of the airport terminal, even talk to a live customer service agent. It's like having a travel agent in the palm of your hand for free. And yeah, that technically makes it a free agent. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
To Curry, pump fake, flyby, three ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-HOOP.
You wish you were here.
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico.
So it's 17.4. Now the Warriors don't have to do anything at all. They're going to dribble it up. And the Warriors get a much-needed easy victory. And the homestand now starts 1-1. Podziemski throws the ball up as the buzzer sounds. And the usual handshakes and the hugs. Will Hardy and Steve Kerr. Pleasantries at center court. Both head coaches work together at Team USA Basketball.
Much needed Warriors win. They got the job done. 134-117 the final, as you just heard Tim Roy describe right here on 95.7 the game. The Dubs defend their home floor and they knock off the Jazz. Welcome in. It's Warriors wrap up on 95.7 the game. Mark Randy with you, coming to you live from Chase Center on this Monday evening, talking through this Warrior win. One they absolutely had to have, and they got the job done. It was a little questionable early, an 11-0 Utah beginning. Chase Center was nervous. The Warriors immediately responded, made it close middle part of the first quarter. Utah then kind of put another run in to close the quarter, and then the game changed entirely early in the second quarter. The Warriors a 21-0 run, including 18-0 while Steph was on the bench. They did not allow Utah to score until about the 6.5-minute mark of the second quarter. So that's about 5.5 minutes of basketball. Not a point. Not just not a made field goal. Sometimes you have like these field goal-less streaks. It was not just that. It was also lack of any points, lack of free throws, lack of anything for Utah for 5.5 minutes to begin the second quarter. A 21-0 Warrior run in that stretch. That changed the game. The rest of the way, the Warriors kind of cruised. They were plus 10 in the third as well, but once the Warriors went up with that second quarter run, it kind of felt like this game was over, and the Warriors win by 17 points, 134-117. Again, a win they absolutely had to have. They had lost 3 games in a row, including a really rough one at home on Friday to the Trailblazers, a game in which the Warriors led by 11 at one point. They didn't blow a gigantic lead in the fourth quarter of that game, but considering Portland's injuries and the way Steph played, you needed to get a win in that basketball game, and ultimately you did not. Then you come into this game, a game the Warriors were favored by double digits, and this is definitely a game they should win. I don't think anyone would say otherwise, but let's not pretend there weren't some challenges in this game. Warriors down Draymond Green, Al Horford, Jonathan Kuminga. Utah has a big front line with Lauri Markkanen and Yusuf Nurkic. This projects as somewhat of a mismatch for the Warriors defensively, and what do? But they hold Utah. Utah, they shot 47% from the field, 31% from deep, but when you consider what Utah did in the first quarter, they shot 63% from the field. They were 7 for 10 from deep. The Warriors' defense the rest of the way was a whole lot better. Utah ultimately ended up scoring 36 in the first and 33 in the fourth. In the middle 2 quarters, they scored just 49 points. The Warriors' defense so much better there in the middle half of this basketball game. First quarter was bad. It was really, really bad defensively. Wasn't necessarily bad offensively, although the defensive struggles lead into the offensive struggles. And then in the fourth quarter, the game, was over, and you waved the white flags, and it's bench mob versus bench mob. You can kind of throw the numbers out at that point. But this game was decided in the middle half, and the Warriors' defense was amazing in that middle half, and that, in my opinion, is what directly led to a lot of their offense. That 21-0 Warrior run to begin the second, which decided this game, the Warriors won by 17. They were plus 21 in the first 6.5 minutes of the second quarter. They were outscored the rest of the basketball game. Now, it was close, only outscored by 4, but the Warriors dominated for 6.5 minutes, and then it was basically an even game the rest of the way. And what led to that 21-0 run? Obviously, the Warriors made some shots. There was a Moses Moody 3. There was a Will Richard 3. There was another Moses Moody 3. There was a post corner 3. Some Jimmy Butler drives and scores. A Moody offensive rebound putback. But a lot of those open looks, those threes, there were also some drives and dishes. They were because of blocks, steals, long defensive rebounds off of missed threes, and those missed threes were because the Warriors defended the shots well on the other end of the floor. It was defense feeding into offense, and that was the path for the Warriors, and it's a big reason why they won this basketball game. All right, plenty to get into. Let's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Give me a call. Shoot me a text. The number is 888-957-9570. Again, 888-957-9570. I've got the text line up. The Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. I see the 408, I see the 415, I see the 510, I see the 925, and more chiming in. Plus, if you want to weigh in on our YouTube chat, you can do that as well. YouTube.com/957 The Game. Everything we do on YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I see you, Chico. I see you, TR. I see you, Symmetry. I see you, Sleepy. I see you, No. I see you, Papusa. I see you, Damon. I see you, Arnell. I think I already shouted out Chico. I can't remember. Appreciate you guys chiming in. Keep the comments coming on the YouTube chat. This game turned to begin the second quarter. And I mentioned, I think it was because of the Warriors' defense. I think I feel Steve Kerr deserves some credit for how this game turned. Now, the players got to go out and make the plays, and they absolutely did that. Again, that 21-0 run, it was consecutive threes by Will Richard and Moses Moody, then a Jimmy Butler lay-in, then a Moses Moody three, then a Butler drive and finish, then a Quentin post corner three off of a Butler assist, then a Moody offensive rebound and a putback, and then Curry came in, and then it was a Curry three to make it a 21-0 Warrior run. The first 18 points of that 21-0 run were while Steph rested, which is why some of the numbers look a little weird. The Warriors won by 17 points, yet Steph was only a +4. How odd is it that Steph is not the leader in terms of plus-minus, but is one of the worst numbers, plus-minus numbers for the Warriors. In a game in which they won by 17, Steph was a +4, which means while he was on the floor, the Warriors were outscored by 13 points. He was on the bench for the beginning of that 21-0 run, which ultimately was 18-0 while Steph rested. The players that were on the floor are the players that have the best plus-minus. It was Quentin Post, who was a +27. It was Will Richard, a +29 in about 22 minutes. That is about impossible to do. Moses Moody was a +20. And Jimmy Butler was a +19. That is 4 of those guys there. Moses Moody, as I mentioned, a +20. Quentin Post, +27. Jimmy Butler, +19. And Will Richard, a +29. There were a couple of subs in there as well. Pat Spencer was a +12. He was a big part of it. Steph came in and was the +3 for the final 3 of that 21-0 run. But that was the moment that changed the game. I think, though, what set the stage for that was a Steve Kerr timeout in the first quarter. And it did not immediately make a difference, but I think it kind of led into what happened when the Warriors began the second quarter. So the Warriors, to begin this game, slow, lazy, they seemed uninspired. They got down 11-0, and some of that is Utah making shots. Some of it is the Warriors missing open shots, but still, an 11-0 Utah beginning. The Warriors missed their first 6 shots. Their first bucket did not come until about the 8:45 mark of the first quarter. The Warriors then responded, and they actually took a 15-13 lead. They went on a 15-2 run. So they steadied themselves, but then Utah immediately responds, and they go up 29-22. And in the middle of that run by Utah, Steve Kerr calls a timeout and starts screaming at his team. And what prompted the timeout was a number of things, but the last thing that Steve Kerr saw was the Warriors play a zone defense. It looked like it was either a 1-2-2 or a 3-2, so hard to tell exactly where that front guy was, if he was, the head of the snake, or it was a 3-2 zone defense. Regardless, it's a zone defense, and the Warriors play zone a decent amount, but every time you kind of switch to a zone, it might take like a little bit to get used to. But I believe it was Bryce Sensabaugh who had the ball on the left wing against, again, a zone defense for the Warriors. And it was Guy Santos and Podziemski who were the guys on the opposite side of the floor. So if you're looking at the zone defense from half court and you're looking at the offensive half of the floor for Utah, it was Podziemski on the right wing and Guy Santos basically on the right block or right corner, depending on where that offensive player is on that part of the floor for Utah. Everyone else was, top of the key or over to the left side where the ball was. And Podziemski just kind of drifted to the middle of the floor, like kind of into the paint around the free throw line, as Bryce Sensabaugh was controlling the ball on the left wing. And for Podziemski, who again, it's kind of his task in this zone defense with, defending the right wing area, just got sucked so far in for really no particular reason. There wasn't really a driver. There wasn't really a big making a cut to that spot. And if there was, you had help. I believe it was TJD who was on the floor at that point as one of the bigs down low. I think the big opposite Guy, I believe it was TJD. And for some reason, Podziemski just got sucked deep into that zone in the middle part of the defense, and Sensabaugh, I believe, was the ball handler on the left wing, saw that, and just a skip pass over to the right wing, a wide open Keontae George, who, by the way, is on fire to begin this season. If you don't know Keontae George, third-year guard out of Baylor, he can fill it up, and he was really good today. He finished with 28 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. He had 15 of his 28 in the first quarter alone, 5 for 6 from the field, and a 4 for 4 from deep in that first quarter. But there was one particular three by George that frustrated Steve Kerr more than anything, and it was that one, because just a simple lack of defensive principle and perhaps lack of focus. And frankly, for Podziemski, it was a little concerning because it wasn't just, oh, I misread the play. He just looked lost out there. If you go and watch the replay, I think I saw Nick Friedel tweeted out, if you scroll back through his feed, you'll be able to see it. He just looked lost, like he was unsure of where he was supposed to be as the ball gets skipped to the guy that he's supposed to be guarding in the area that he's supposed to be guarding, a really good shooter, and at that point, a hot shooter, and he hits the wide open three. Wide open three. No one's even near him. And Steve Kerr, before the ball even goes in, like, you know how Steph Curry will celebrate a three before it even goes in? Steve Kerr was the opposite of celebrating. He was screaming, and he was showing frustration about that even before the shot went in. And frankly, it did not matter if it went in or not. Warriors could have got lucky, and George could have missed the three. That's not the point. The point is a lack of focus, maybe a lack of communication, I don't know. Just a lack of general awareness of your defensive principles allowed one of the hottest shooters on the floor, definitely the hottest shooter on the floor, and one of the hottest scorers in the game to begin this season, a wide open right wing three when he's already been feeling it. And he hits it. Steve Kerr races onto the floor before the ball even goes in preparation for calling a timeout. I would have guessed, even if the shot missed and the Warriors got the defensive rebound, Steve Kerr would have called timeout. That's how incensed that he was. So he gets onto the floor, quickly calls timeout, and I'm keeping a close eye on him on the sideline during that timeout because he's sitting, in the semicircle with the players all around him, and he is screaming and clapping at his guys. I would imagine just pleading with them to be smart on the defensive end, to not have those kinds of lapses. And the Warriors did not immediately respond because that three, I think, gave the Jazz like a 2 or 3 or a 4-point lead. It was not like the end of the run. It kind of was the beginning of the run. Utah then ultimately leads by 9 after the first quarter. So the impact wasn't immediately felt, the impact of Steve Kerr screaming. But then the Warriors began the second quarter, and they went on that 21-0 run to begin. Again, Steve Kerr doesn't deserve all of the credit in the world for screaming at his players, but that was the time where I think you saw Steve Kerr, flip the spread is not the right. We talked about this so much during the Giants season. Should Bob Melvin lay into his guys a little bit more for the base running mistakes and all of that? This was Steve Kerr in a very public space screaming at his players. Absolutely screaming at them. And maybe more important than just screaming at them and showing your frustration and pleading and begging them to be better defensively, Steve Kerr also changed rotations. Brendan Podziemski checked out at that point, having played 5 minutes and 48 seconds at that point, did not play the rest of the half. So now, he did get in and play in the second half. He finished with about 18 minutes, a little less than 18 minutes played, but that's a drop-off. Let me look this up, as I just want to read through Podziemski's minute totals of late, because tonight had to absolutely be a dip. Podziemski's usually around 30 minutes a night. He's up there pretty often. 18 minutes tonight, officially 17:47. 30 minutes versus Utah, 34 minutes in Miami, 27 minutes in Orlando, 26 in New Orleans, 30 in San Antonio the second game, 29 in San Antonio the first game, 21 in OKC. That was a blowout, so that 21 number is kind of misleading. 32 versus Indiana, 25 versus Denver. That was a blowout as well. That number is misleading. He's usually somewhere around 27-plus minutes. He played 18 minutes tonight. It's Steve Kerr saying, if you make mistakes like that, you're not playing. Sorry, we can't have mistakes like that. And that's what happened in that first quarter with Steve Kerr showing the frustration to Podziemski and taking him out of the game for an extended period of time. He was better in the second half. Podziemski was. Now he finishes with 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, nothing special. We don't need to talk anymore about what he did in this basketball game because he was not one of the 5 most important players for the Warriors tonight. But I do think it's worth mentioning that, I mean, there's this general thought among a lot of Warrior fans. I hear it all over the place. And I think there's a lot of you in the YouTube chat, on the text line, that feel this way as well, that Podziemski seems to get a long leash with Steve Kerr. And I know that the easy comparison is comparing it to how the minutes of Jonathan Kuminga have gone over his career. I think there is a conversation to be had there. I tend to get a little lost because they play different positions, and there's a lack of, ball handling guards on this Warrior roster. I think it might change when DeAnthony Melton comes back. But I get the frustration among a lot of Warrior fans. I will just say tonight, if you have been frustrated by the yo-yo nature of Kuminga's career and maybe lack thereof for Podziemski's career, tonight had to at least make you feel like there was a little bit of justice, because Podziemski showed a lack of focus, a terrible mistake in a single moment, and this was not just one mistake. This has been happening, maybe not to that extreme of a level, but this has been happening. I don't think Podziemski's having a great year by any stretch, and he got pulled, and Steve Kerr changed his rotation pattern, and that's not something that he likes to do. He likes to kind of establish a pattern and stick with it. Now, this year's kind of been tough, and maybe even last year at times as well, because you had injuries and you had struggles, and you're moving lineups around. And tonight, of course, they had to start with Curry, Moody, Butler, GP2, and Quentin Post, because no Draymond, no Al Horford, no Kuminga. So you had to get kind of creative, and that just naturally changes up your rotation patterns as a whole. Although, like, the basis of everything you do from a rotations standpoint is Steph Curry's minutes and Jimmy Butler's minutes, and you just try to find groups of 4 others that can fit with those guys when they're on the floor. But he moved away from what I would imagine was the plan, and Podziemski played just about 5.5 minutes in the first half. That was it. He checked out after that Steve Kerr timeout and did not play the rest of the half. So, interesting. The Warriors responded defensively. I mean, that first quarter was really bad. Utah scored 35 points. They were 13 for 21 from the field. They were 7 for 10 from downtown. Keontae George, who hit that 3 that prompted this whole Steve Kerr blow-up. And I say blow-up like it was something crazy. I think it was just, in general, like normal coaching, a coach being frustrated. It was not anything malicious. It was like more pleading. I quote tweeted, 95.7 The Game tweeted out a great video of Steve Kerr's frustration on the bench. You can actually see his frustration begin if you are watching the NBC Sports Bay Area telecast. You can see him step onto the court and call the timeout, and you could tell he was frustrated. But then during that commercial break, as NBC Sports Bay Area cuts away to go to commercials, us here at 95.7 The Game, videotaped Steve Kerr on the bench and posted it on Twitter. I gave it a quote tweet. You can scroll through my feed or go to our feed at 95.7 The Game and scroll until you find it. He was clapping. He was yelling. It wasn't directed at anybody in particular. My read from, way up in the press box on press row here at Chase Center was more pleading, as opposed to just absolutely unleashing hell on his players. But regardless, it was one of the more animated Steve Kerrs that we've seen all season. And again, it did not immediately transform into results, but I think it was probably a factor in that 21-0 Warrior run to begin the second quarter, because I think it all started on defense for the Warriors. That 21-0 run to begin the second quarter, I think so much of it was turning defense into offense. And I think, honestly, this is where I haven't talked about him yet. He was one of the Warriors' best players tonight. Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was great in this game today. I think by a mile, his best game of the season. Now, he doesn't have a ton of great games to choose from, but he finishes off the bench in 22 minutes and 44 seconds, so round up to 23 minutes. Buddy Hield, 20 points, 8 for 13 from the field, 4 for 8 from downtown, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He did have 2 really bad turnovers, and I mean one really bad one where he threw a skip pass across court that was easily intercepted. I believe it turned into points on the other end for Utah. Everyone in Chase Center knew that was a terrible pass, and Buddy made it. That had no chance of being completed. At best, it was going to be a deflection and it was going to go out of bounds. That's if you're lucky. It was an easy interception and turned into points on the other end. Other than that, though, I thought he had a really good game. And what he helped do in that second quarter was help turn defense into offense. No one's going to mistake Buddy Hield for an all-pro, all-NBA defensive kind of player. I do think we tend to overlook how consistent his hustle and his effort is when his shot isn't falling, because Buddy is one of the greatest three-point shooters that this league has ever seen. I know that his numbers this year do not back that up, but if you look at his career numbers, that is the case. One of the best three-point shooters this league has ever seen. That kind of just tends to get the story no matter what else he does in a game, which is fair. It's his best skill. It's why he's made a lot of money in the NBA, his three-point shooting. But his effort is always there on the defensive end. And today, we saw in the second quarter alone, I want to make sure I highlight this. Buddy in the second quarter, he had 9 points, 4 for 5 from the field, had a steal and 2 offensive rebounds. That steal and those 2 offensive rebounds all led to buckets. The steal led to his own fast break bucket. He got a steal like at half court and had an easy breakaway bucket. 1 offensive rebound led to his own putback. And another offensive rebound led to a Butler bucket after Hield got the offensive board and dished it to a cutting Butler for a lay-in. That's 6 points from created by Buddy Hield's effort. And it was turning defense, specifically the steal, into offense. There were a number of times where the Warriors, they didn't turn the Jazz over a ton. Utah committed 14 turnovers, the Warriors just 10. So the Warriors won the turnover battle, and no surprise they won the basketball game. There were a couple of steals that turned into points. One of them was that Buddy Hield one. But a lot of the others were the Warriors forcing long misses. And then it was, outlet passes to streaking Warriors for fast break buckets on the other end. And I think that really was the Warriors' defense kind of turning things around to begin that second quarter that also then turned the offense around. And we hear Steve Kerr talk about this so often. Him say the more stops we can get so we're not going against a set defense, it's going to make our offense 10 times better. And I think that's specifically what we saw from the Warriors in that second quarter, and it carried into the third quarter as well. No doubt, though, that second quarter was kind of the high point of the Warriors. The second quarter was 41-20 in favor of the Warriors. Utah in the second quarter went 8 for 28 from the field and 2 for 11 from downtown. Let's just take a look at the second quarter numbers. Second quarter alone, because they were pretty crazy in this one. As I mentioned, Utah 8 for 27. That's a little less than 30% from the field. I think I might have said 8 for 28. They were officially 8 for 27. There might have been a heave there at the end, which doesn't go to a player. It's technically a team field goal attempt. Whatever. 8 for 27, 8 for 28. Not good. Sub 30% from Utah in the second quarter. 2 for 11 from downtown. The Warriors, by contrast, 17 for 29. That's just a tick under 59% from the field, and 7 for 13 from downtown. Some of that is making shots. And, Post made a corner three, Moody made a couple of threes, but those were good looks. And why were they good looks? Because the Warriors were getting stops on the other end, and, they pushed the tempo, and they managed to get shots up versus a defense that wasn't set just yet. Fast break points, it wasn't a crazy number for the Warriors, but 10-2 in favor of the Warriors in that second quarter. That's a pretty big number. I thought I was looking at a game number. That's just the second quarter number. 10-2 for the Warriors in the second quarter in fast break points. As a whole, it was actually 21-14 in favor of Utah. And that goes to show just how different that second quarter was than really any other period in this game. Fast break points in the second quarter, 10-2 Warriors. The rest of the game was 19-4 in favor of Utah. That second quarter, I think, is just like if we are to pick a quarter of this season, not a quarter of the whole season, a single quarter, 12 minutes of basketball over the course of the first 19 games the Warriors have played. If you ask Steve Kerr for one quarter of basketball to kind of show the plan that they want to employ, it honestly might be that second quarter. Just lock in on defense and let that kind of flow into your offense. And that's what happened in the second quarter for the Warriors when they outscored Utah 41-20. It was a dominant Warrior second quarter, and it led to that 17-point win. All right, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Again, 888-957-9570. I've also got the text line up as always. That's the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line, and the YouTube chat is flowing as always here at youtube.com/957 The Game. We got a break coming up in a couple of minutes, but let's get out to the phones before we do that because Eric in Millbrae is standing by. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Mark Randy. What do you got?
Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, much better tonight, especially coming off that debacle against Portland on Sunday night. I like that. I wish more Warriors could have more quarters like that second quarter. That was the old version of Warriors basketball when they're really rolling. Love the way Buddy Buckets, I know he's inconsistent, but when the guy's on, he's lights out. That Curry was his usual great self. Jimmy Buckets all around great. But just all in all, I wanted to see how the Warriors would bounce back coming off of the way they lost to Portland. This I know the record isn't good for Utah, but they're feisty. They really should have beat the Lakers last night. Luka, I think, hit a clutch shot at the end of the game there to lose by 2 points. So this Utah team, even though the record's not good, they got size, and they got, as you mentioned, that guy George is kind of a ascending star. So I like the way they came out in that second quarter, really took it to Utah and blew this game open. But you're the Warriors right now, with Kerr especially. You got to have a short leash with pods. You can't have one of your supporting casts really kill you out there because you're not good enough to really overlook any team right now. So that's the least short leash he has to have on pods. If you have to take him out, so be it, and go with Richard or Spencer or even Guy Santos. So be it. I think pods may be going to decline when what's his name? Why is his name slipping right now? Melton. When Melton's back, yep. I think his minutes are going to be cut even more. So the Warriors really got to lock in and focus because right now the Western Conference is even better than was last year. So there's no guarantee that they're going to have a run like they did last year because you might have a matchup in the play-in where you get knocked out because it's loaded top to bottom. So I'm hoping the Warriors really rein in here. They got a really tough matchup. I don't know if KD is going to play on Wednesday.
He's not.
Nonetheless, Houston's still a hell of they're still a hell of a team, one of the top three teams in the West right now. And then obviously you got New Orleans, and then I'm going to be at that game next week against the defending champs, which they're the bare standard right now for the league of who you want a gun to take out. So I'm hoping the Warriors really can make hay at home because right now they've been a debacle on the road. So at least minus that game last against Portland, they're really money at home. So I'm hoping they really put a good stretch here to home because they really need it. So hopefully this is a good sign of teams to come going forward, especially at the home case before they really get going back on the road here. You got some games to make up for the way they've looked on the road. So handle their business, and we'll see Wednesday night against a really tough team. I'll get your thoughts on that. Thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Eric. No KD with the Rockets when they're in town coming up on Wednesday. We'll see about Draymond and for the Warriors. I would imagine no Kuminga still. The update from Kerr is he doesn't know when Kuminga is going to be back. No Al Horford, we already know that. So the question really in my mind is around Draymond Green's availability, but no Kevin Durant. He also missed their game against Phoenix. KD did. And he's also missing this game against the Warriors due to personal reasons. We don't know exactly what's going on. Hope everything's all right with KD. But no KD, not even going to be with the team, I think, if memory serves, on Wednesday. But we'll see how that goes. As Eric said, Houston is still a really good team, and specifically a really good defensive team. The Warriors know it from that playoff series last year. Amen Thompson's taken a leap. He's an ascending, not just star, but potential superstar in this league. We'll see what that matchup is like. It should be a grinded-out basketball game, especially if Draymond Green is back, and they're going to need him to help defend against Şengün and company. We'll see how that game plays out. I do think the Melton point that Eric brings up is a good one, because, again, I think part of the reason why maybe there's been less of a reaction from Kerr to some Podziemski mistakes is because of, well, who are you going to replace him with in the lineup? And the Warriors at times have had, an excess, not of great wings, but of wings and players you can play that in the position that Kuminga plays. And for Podziemski, right now on the Warriors roster, guys that can kind of fill in for what Podziemski does, which is just like ball handle and try to, is Pat Spencer. Will Richard, is a guard, but he's not a ball handler and a creator. He's been amazing. He has blown past everybody's expectations. But it's not as if it's just to say, all right, Will, you're getting all of Brandon's minutes. That's not really how it works. Now, what I will say is if Melton is here, that conversation shifts entirely. So when Melton comes back, it will be really interesting to see how the rotation changes, and specifically maybe how Podziemski's minutes change. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, more time for your calls, your texts, your chats on YouTube. Plus, we will hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, who has addressed the media post-game as well. All of that and more. It's Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you. Dubs knock off the Jazz 134-117. More Warriors Wrap-Up next on 95.7 The Game.
What's your financial future look like? At Pettinelli Financial Partners, we help you shape it. Whether you're planning for retirement, buying a home, or saving for something special, our professionals are here to provide clear guidance and smart strategies. Visit PettinelliFP.com today and take the first step toward a more secure financial future. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Straight Talk knows the best holiday gift is simply saying yes.
Yes, you can stay up late. Sure, more cookies. Of course we can watch that movie again.
That's why we give you real unlimited data, so you can say yes to all of your family's streaming, scrolling, and sharing. And now at Straight Talk, get another gift worth giving, a free 5G phone with select plans. Because yes is the best gift to give.
Yes!
And receive. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and RNS Doors. Turn your garage into the envy of the neighborhood. Visit rnsdoors.com.
This week's closer comes from Jackie from San Francisco. The RNS team did a fantastic job. I'm so thankful to Sal, Alexis, and Fred for fixing our garage gate problem. They were professional, friendly, and truly went above and beyond. I really appreciate their great work.
Recently, my garage door opener was not working. I was in need of a closer. I was put in touch with RNS Doors, and they hooked me up with a brand new garage door opener from LiftMaster. With LiftMaster's MyQ connectivity, my garage door opener can be controlled right from my smartphone. You'll know when a door or gate has been left open and can close it with a tap, no matter where I am. Be one of the first 10 callers and receive 20% off a LiftMaster garage door opener.
Call 1-800-FIX-A-DOOR. That's 800-FIX-A-DOOR. Or visit rsdoors.com. R&S Doors. Look for the red truck.
What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Just 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, and that keeps you gaming in the fast lane. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. You'll find exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 50% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Mama Bear, I hear our old Fast Track tag won't be saving us money on bridge tolls anymore.
That's because bridge carpool rules are changing on January 1st. But don't worry, Papa Bear. I got a new Fast Track Flex tag. Huh? See?
Mama, what are the numbers for?
Well, Baby Bear, that tells the system how many people are in the car, so we can get a discount when there are 3 or more of us. We are 3 bears, and we're setting our tag to 3+. So it's just right.
So now we'll keep saving money on tolls?
Mm-hmm. You bet your cushy driver's seat, Papa.
That'll make up for this cold takeout porridge. Yeah.
My breakfast burrito is just right.
Starting January 1st, 3 or more people are required for carpool discounts on all bridges. A Fast Track Flex toll tag set to 3+ is required for discounts on all bridges except the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate. Visit getfasttrack.org for details.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we. With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Honey, that flu keeping you up? Did you take NyQuil Intense Flu?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
Yeah, you need NyQuil Intense Flu.
Undo your flu with NyQuil Intense Flu. NyQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms so you can sleep.
You do got this.
NyQuil Intense Flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching fever. Best sleep with the flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
He'll try to go back door. Nobody open. Bad pass by Richard, but Peyton hustles to it. Got to Curry. Curry with 5, with 4. Dribbles, backs up, shoots a 3 from the right wing. Got it! Classic Curry. 21-0 run.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
21-0 Warrior run to begin that second quarter. They went from down 9. It was 35-26 in favor of the Jazz. 35-26 in favor of the Jazz. Then a 21-0 Warrior run to go up, 47-35 from down 9 to up 12 over the course of about 5.5 minutes. What a crazy change that was. And that highlight of Stephen Curry hitting that 3 was the 19th, 20th, and 21st points of that run. He finished with 31 points, just ho-hum. Steph with 31, 12 for 24 from the field. It was kind of a volume night for Steph, 6 for 17 from deep, but he was amazing in the third quarter. The Warriors as a team were great, and it was the defenses they talked about kind of feeding into the offense. I thought the second quarter and that run was basically, it wasn't all, but a lot of it was Moody and Jimmy Butler. In fact, in that 18-0 run, before the timeout, which then led to Stephen Curry re-entering, 18 points, 18-0 run to begin the quarter. Again, it ultimately became 21, but just focusing on the first 18 because it was kind of encapsulated in one stretch of play. 18-0 Warrior run. Jimmy Butler scored or assisted on 10 of those 18 points. He scored 4, assisted on 2 threes, so that's 10 total points that he scored or assisted on. And Moses Moody had 8 points to go with 3 rebounds and a block. I thought those two were at the center of that run. It was Moses Moody and Jimmy Butler defensively, and I think specifically Jimmy Butler defensively, and a little bit of Buddy Hield as they talked about. And then it was Jimmy Butler and Moses Moody offensively, and Butler mostly creating for others. He had 4 points, but a couple of assists in that stretch. And by the way, if you were listening on Warriors Live, you heard me say I liked Jimmy's over on assists, and that hit. He finished with 7 assists. Only GP2 had more for the Warriors tonight. He had 8. Jimmy Butler had 7. When the Warriors get in these, it wasn't an entirely dire game. It's not like season's over if you lose, but, major red flags start flying if you lose this game. Whenever that's the case, specifically with Draymond out tonight, I think the Warriors really simplify on offense, and it's just, all right, if Steph's not in, and even sometimes when Steph is in, let's get the ball to Jimmy and run the offense through him. Now, that's not just Jimmy isolate, back down, get to the line. I mean, Jimmy got to the line just 3 times today. The Warriors only 18 times. In a lot of the Warriors' wins, they've kind of cheated their way, not cheated to wins, but they've cheated their way to free points at the free throw line. That's not what today was. Free throws were even. I thought it was a well-officiated basketball game. It was just good offensive execution, and I think a lot of that in moments like this, when there's a little bit of pressure on the Warriors to win a basketball game and snap a streak and avoid the, oh no, we better not lose this game. It's just, all right, deep breath, let's play simple basketball. Jimmy, we're giving you the ball, let's figure this thing out. And I think that's a lot of what that second quarter was, and it led to a Moody 3, it led to a post 3, and he got a couple of buckets himself. One of his buckets was off the Hield offensive rebound and Hield assist. But a lot of it, I think, is just, can Jimmy Butler kind of get us through these non-Steph minutes, and did he not just get them through these minutes? He led the Warriors to dominate. Again, while Steph rested, 18-0 Warrior run. I wonder, and I don't know how I'd find this. It would take a very long time. I wonder if there's ever been a larger unanswered run for the Warriors while Steph was on the bench in his career. It's probably happened because he's playing for, 17 years now? It's 16 or 17. It's probably happened. But an 18-0 run while Steph rests, that's almost unheard of. And a lot of that was, again, Jimmy Butler and Moses Moody. I started talking about this, though, because I was chatting on our YouTube chat, youtube.com/957thegame, with everyone on there about the 49ers game. The Niners were hosting the Panthers. It was Monday Night Football. There's still a lot of chat on our YouTube chat about that. Lots to talk about the Niners tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game. I'm going to head home after I wrap things up here on Warriors Wrap Up and watch that game. Going to be a late night for me. But there was a moment in the second half, once the game ended, where the great Steve Scott, you can listen to him on KCBS in the mornings, who also does the PA here at Chase Center, announced the Niners had won. And a little bit of a highlights package played on the Jumbotron at Chase, including the Juwan touchdown, one of the Jair Brown interceptions. I haven't seen the game yet, just saw some highlights. I think Jair had, 2 interceptions? And then the Christian McCaffrey touchdown run on that toss to the left side. And it's really funny because while that was going on, it was a timeout. Steph was on the bench, and he was clearly frustrated because, of course, he's, from North Carolina, a big Panthers fan. So Steph was probably the only person in the building who was upset at that Niner win. But kind of a funny moment at Chase Center today when Steph Curry, frustrated that his Panthers could not get it done on Monday night at Levi Stadium. I'm sure when the NFL schedule came out, Steph got really excited. Warriors, Niners and Panthers on Monday Night Football at Levi's, and Steph's probably like, oh, fingers crossed, please don't let us play that day. Please don't let us play that day. The Warriors had a home game, so he couldn't go to the game. And he got to learn of the Panthers' loss to the Niners at Chase Center, just like a lot of other Warrior fans did. That was a funny moment in this game. Okay, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr in a moment. First, though, Gene is in Oakland, and he wants to weigh in here on Warriors Wrap-Up as the Dubs knock off the Jazz 134-117. Gene, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. What do you got?
We just came from the game. I took the grandkids there. It was a great game. Yeah, enjoyed it. But, I hope when Steve gets to the podium that the question is asked, why in the world did you leave Stephen Curry in the game until it was 3 minutes left when at the 5-minute point they had about a 22 or 23-point lead. I just don't see any good reason for doing that. It makes no sense. I mean, I'm sure Stephen wanted to be out there. I mean, he looked a little ragged at the end. He was, the shots were falling short. But keep in mind, the last three-plus years, he's worn down by about the middle of the season. He's going to be 38 years old. These are precious moments when they should have him on the bench. He was out there. He was tired. There was no need for him to be there. So, I hope somebody asks Steve, what are you thinking, leaving him out there? Now, and if Curry is saying, I want to be out there, it's up to Kerr to say no. Just save it for another day. Anyways, but all in all, I was very happy with the performance, with the game. I hope this is a turning point and we start, stacking victories.
Appreciate the call, Gene. I can't lie. I was thinking the same thing. In fact, I'm up here sitting on Media Row taking notes so that I don't come into this Warriors wrap-up show blind. Just have a little bit of a cheat sheet with you so you can kind of run through what happened over the course of the game. And at the beginning of every quarter, I kind of put a quick bullet point on, not like a question, but like something that's on my mind, I think, something that's pertinent to this quarter. And what I wrote for the fourth quarter, with the Warriors up 22, 106-84, I wrote, can the Warriors put this game away and keep Curry on the bench? He played about 23 and a half minutes through three quarters, and the Warriors were up 22. He eventually checked back in with about 9:22 to go in the fourth. That's honestly earlier than he normally checks in. If you ask Steve, and we're going to hear from Steve, I don't know if he was asked this. Based on what I've seen so far, I don't think he was asked this. I would imagine if you were to ask Steve, though, he would say, well, I brought him in a little bit earlier than usual because I thought, Steph might help us put it away officially a little bit quicker, and therefore we could take him out of the game earlier than we would otherwise. I was thinking you didn't really have to play him at all the rest of the way. He eventually came in, quickly hit a three, pushed the lead to 26. That was with 7 minutes left. I'm thinking at that point, all right, time to sub him out. You're up 26. It was 119 to 93 at that point. 119 to 93 in favor of the Warriors after he hit that three. You're up by 26 with 7 minutes left. I thought, all right, pull him out at that point. He ultimately plays another 3 minutes, so he checks out with 29 minutes played. Does 3 minutes make a gigantic difference over the course of the season? Probably not. But if it's 3 minutes here and 3 minutes there and 3 more minutes there and 4 here and 2 more there, that could add up. And I'm with Gene. I think when you try to plan out this season, every second counts for Stephen Curry. So I was a little surprised that he played as much as he did in the fourth quarter. I mean, what did he play? He ended up playing officially in the fourth quarter, if I can find it here for you before we go to Steve Kerr. Steph Curry played 5.5 minutes in the fourth. Again, that's not like a gigantic amount. That's not terrible. That's not malpractice. But I think that number could have been like 2. Maybe even 0, and I think you would have been able to get away with it. But who knows? What do I know? I'm not the coach of the Warriors. Okay. Steve Kerr coming up in just a sec. We do have another call, though, that I want to get to because Gary is in Concord, and he wants to weigh in on this Warrior win. Again, 134-117 over the Jazz. The Warriors now 10-9. 6-1 at home are the Warriors. Their only loss at home this season last Friday to the Portland Trailblazers. 6-1 at home, and the Warriors back above 500 at 10-9. All right, Gary in Concord is up next. What's up, Gary? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Yeah, hey, great game tonight. I was there, sat great seats, could see the Warrior bench, got to see how heated Steve got tonight during a timeout. That was pretty intense. It's about
Gary, could you hear what he was saying? Gary, could you hear what he was saying at all?
No, I could not hear, but he was angry at more than one person.
Yeah.
He might have been angry at Pods. I couldn't really tell, but he was hot. But I really wanted to call just because it kind of goes. It's hard to notice sometimes, but something about when Pat's in the game, good things happen. I mean, he knows how to pass. He passes crisp. They're hard. They a lot of times lead to assists, as we saw in a couple games ago when, the big three were out. But something is he's starting to become a lot more comfortable, and good things happen when he's on the floor. There's something about his game that's improving significantly. And I'm just impressed with how well they've been playing lately, or with him in there lately.
Sorry, who are you talking about, Gary? I missed the beginning part.
Spencer, Pat.
Oh.
Pat, Spencer.
Yeah.
Pat.
Yeah.
That I don't know how many assists he had tonight, but when he went in the game after that, when Kerr was upset, things started to change. And I know you brought up Butler and Moody earlier, but Moody missed the first 5 threes, and then he got hot.
Yep.
But when Pat went in, things changed. The ball moves better around the court. There's a lot better movement. So I think he might be getting a little more play time lately, or coming up, hopefully.
Yeah, Gary, I appreciate the call. I was talking about this in the Miami game. And the Miami game, of course, is a unique circumstance because no Jimmy, no Steph, and that changes everything for an offense. But I think that the point still holds to a lesser degree because obviously Steph plays and Steph ends up playing 29 minutes, which is more than half the basketball game by a decent margin. So there's less opportunity to see Pat Spencer, but when you're trying to initiate offense and Steph isn't on the floor, I think it is pretty clear that Pat Spencer gives them something that nobody else on the roster does, which is just the ability for a ball handler on your offense to drive past somebody. The Warriors don't really have anybody else that can do that on a consistent basis, and Pat Spencer does. It's why when he plays in games that Steph misses, you're like, man, this guy's having a positive impact for the most part. I don't think it does not mean that he's this incredibly positive player and the Warriors should play him 20 minutes a game when everybody's healthy. He has serious shortcomings, and I think they're on the defensive end, and he's not the best shooter, and I think sometimes, he gets a little too high on himself, and maybe he tries some things that he really shouldn't. Largely, though, I do think he brings something that the Warriors don't have elsewhere. And you see it specifically when Steph isn't on the floor. Steph isn't the guy either that's like, all right, one-on-one, I'm driving past you, and I'm getting to the bucket every single time. Steph is obviously very good at that, even at this advanced age. But he just changes the geometry of the court just with his presence alone, that gives the Warriors an advantage. And they don't have to necessarily beat somebody off the dribble to have an advantage. Just Steph's gravity gives you an advantage. When Steph is off the floor, you need somebody else to create an advantage. And with not any other great shooter, and even if you are a great shooter, like say your Buddy Hield and you're having a good year, you don't have the gravity impact that Steph does. No one in the NBA does. No one in NBA history ever has had the impact that Steph has on a defense just by being out there. The ball could not be in your hands. You could be standing in the corner, and you're impacting every inch of that floor because you're Steph freaking Curry. So when he sits, how do you generate an advantage on offense? It kind of becomes simpler, and it's just, all right, can somebody beat their guy one-on-one? And for the Warriors across the board, it's, all right, can Jimmy beat his guy one-on-one? Maybe at times if he can bait them into a foul, which he's really good at, but not like drive past you, I'm facing you up, I'm giving you a jab, 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 spin, drive, layup. Every once in a while, but not like super consistent. Can Moses Moody do that? No, not a good enough dribble, and probably not quick enough either. Can Podziemski do that? No, I think he's too slow at the point of attack on offense. Can Buddy Hield do that? No. Can Will Richard do that? No. Can GP2 do that? No. So Pat Spencer is one of those guys that can. Now I see this come in on the YouTube chat. Berkeley Coding Academy says Jimmy beats people all the time. Yeah, just talking about that. I just don't think it's general, straight up, top of the key, I'm driving past you to the hoop and getting a bucket. Not that that's Pat Spencer either, but just creating the advantage. Jimmy is more from like a set, I'm posting you up in the short corner left side, spinning baseline, jab step, hitting a little 10-foot fadeaway. That's different than just ball handler, guard ball handler, I'm putting the dribble moves on you, and I'm getting past you to the paint, either to score or to dish somebody else up. So I do think Pat Spencer gives the Warriors something in the non-Steph minutes that they don't really have elsewhere right now, and it's interesting. All right. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Dubs knock off the Jazz 134-117. I've been talking about it for too long. Let's just get to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr addressed the media post-game tonight here at Chase Center as the Dubs pick up a win, snap their 3-game losing streak. They're now 10-9 on the season. Here is Steve Kerr post-game tonight.
Pretty animatedly lit into them, I think late first, early second, something like that. What was obviously it was a defensive breakdown, but what are your frustrations about the way you guys are playing on that end, and then what did you see in the 3 quarters?
It was really just the start. I thought our defense was pretty good after that, but Keontae George and Markkanen were the 2 guys that we wanted to contain tonight and pay special attention to, and I think 10 minutes into the game, George is 4 for 4 from 3. Wide open shots, so we just lost our focus, and I just wanted to gently remind them that we needed to focus more.
Was that even a little bit more than about the 10 minutes, but maybe the few games prior? I know the defensive focus. The message. Anytime you're in a rut as a team and you've lost a few, you have to dig your way out, and that just means. You have to compete every possession. You got to be locked into the game plan, and it didn't surprise me the way we started. Missing our first 5 or 6 shots. Like I said, you're in a little bit of a bad spot. Shots don't tend to go in, so you have to dig your way out and compete and earn the right to make shots and to have a game like we ended up having. But it only happens if you bring the right spirit, the right energy, the right focus. And I thought our second group really did that. Pat Spencer, I thought Will, that group with Jimmy, Quentin to start the second quarter. Game changer, really, just their approach and the way they got the crowd into it, the way the ball moved. It was really fun to watch.
Steve, those final 3 quarters when you guys kind of started cruising, what were the things that you really liked?
Well, we took care of the ball, and that's priority number 1 for us. When we take care of it, we generally win. I think we're 9-1 now when we win the turnover battle, and 1-8 when we don't. So it's very obvious what our measuring stick is, and that helps our defense. So I like that. I like the way the ball moved, and as I said, once we got Pat and Will out there, I really liked the ball movement, the flow, the energy. It felt right.
And how much emphasis was placed on rebounding? Because it looked like most of the time guys were diving for the glass and they were playing hard.
Yeah, the energy was right. And if the energy is right, usually you're going to rebound the ball pretty well because you're anticipating, you're moving. So just a really good night, 34 assists and 10 turnovers. We got up 103 shots. I don't remember the last time we got that many field goal attempts. So it's a reminder that we can be a really good offensive team. I know the focus was on the defense after the Portland game, and rightfully so. We made too many mistakes. But I will repeat what I said after that game. It's our offense. If our offense is right, if we are in the right frame of mind to take care of the ball and be spaced correctly, then we're going to help our defense out and help our rebounding out. And so overall, the defense hasn't been that bad through the first, 19 games. But the offense has been very poor. So that's our focus right now. But how the game connects offensively and defensively that's what we're locked in on.
Steve, eight players grabbed at least 4 rebounds for you guys. Does that kind of help with having the right mentality when everyone is grabbing boards instead of maybe just 1 or 2 guys?
Yeah, it's a collective energy and spirit, and you could feel it in that second quarter. There were a bunch of possessions where we were flying around, and when you do that, the ball tends to bounce your way or go in the hoop when you shoot. I mean, you have to earn
the right for all that to happen, and I thought we eventually did that tonight.
Steve, what's some of the guys you were missing? I mean, how much did you appreciate what Gary gave you on both ends?
Yeah, Gary was fantastic. We started him on Markkanen, and I thought he did a really good job just bothering him, trying to get underneath him and pressure him, and then Gary diving out of the pick and roll, the way he passed the ball tonight, 8 assists. So Gary had a great game.
What'd you like about Buddy's game tonight?
Well, he stayed with it. The ball hasn't been going in for him in the early part of the season, but he stayed with it, and his energy was great, and he moved the ball. He had 4 assists himself, and it's good to see the ball go in for him.
You guys are playing Houston on Wednesday. They're another big athletic team. Like to grab a lot of offensive rebounds. Are you kind of encouraged by the way you guys were able to handle Utah's size, and is that something you think can carry over to Wednesday night?
Well, Houston is, with all due respect to Utah, Houston is one of the elite teams in the league. So the size, the rebounding, I read they're rebounding 40% of their missed shots. That's an incredible number. So we got to prepare for them. We got to be ready for their force, and it'll be a tough game for sure. They're playing really well.
That's Steve Kerr post game tonight. I think one of the funniest things that he said was the first question he was asked about his animated timeout in the first quarter and the ensuing communication he had with his team. That's putting it lightly. Steve Kerr also put it lightly. I described it as him pleading with his team in a very emotional way. He was yelling. We had a caller who was sitting near the Warriors bench. Bloop, that's a drop, by the way, who said he couldn't hear what he was saying but could tell that he was really, really frustrated. Yeah, he clearly was. Steve Kerr, though, post-game said, quote, "I just wanted to gently remind them that we needed to focus more." Steve, there was nothing gentle about it, but I appreciate the humor post-game. I want to let you know that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station, and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries, always live on the free Odyssey app, coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios. I want to hear from Steph Curry as well, because Steph talked about this as well. Steph on the early timeout that Steve Kerr called and the message during that break. Here is Steph Curry talking about Steve Kerr.
Yeah, that was just about a lack of focus. We let Keontae George get hot to start. Talents like that, they're going to score. But we gave him, I think, 4 wide-open threes. And anybody knows, that shouldn't happen in this league if you're keying on 2 of their best players, 2 of their best scorers. And so once he got that one in front of the bench, it's just a lack of focus, and you have to kind of lock in on. We talked about it last game plan discipline. That's the biggest thing, understanding how they're trying to score, who's going to have the ball in their hands. But you have to just put little step by step in terms of us putting together 48 minutes of solid, sound defense where we're truly proud of the way we play from start to finish. We know we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's Steph Curry talking about he said the same thing on Friday night, just game plan stuff. Knowing the plan, who do we want shooting, who do we not want shooting, who can we not help off of, who do we need to stick to on the perimeter, and that's what cost them in that, Keontae Murray 3, which prompted the Steve Kerr timeout and the ensuing just him screaming at his team on the sideline during that timeout. It's just simple game plan stuff and sticking to the plan and know your personnel, right? KYP, know your personnel. And there's been too many moments recently where the Warriors haven't really seemed like they knew their personnel, but it changed. And they dominated the middle half of this basketball game, and they ultimately win. Final score 134-117. The Jazz won the first quarter by 9. They won the fourth quarter by 5, so they were plus 14 in the first and fourth quarters. How about the Warriors in the middle half of this basketball game? In the second and third quarters, it was 80-49 in favor of the Warriors. 80-49, that's incredible. The field goal percentage was 56% for the Warriors, 36% for Utah, and the three-point field goal percentage was 48% for the Warriors and 15% by the Jazz. Absolute domination in the middle half of this basketball game, quarters 2 and 3 from the Warriors, plus 31 in the middle 2 quarters of this basketball game. They dominated in the second and the third. One thing I did want to mention, as we keep an eye on Steph's sneaker free agency, he wore 3 different shoes at Chase Center today. Shoe number 1, he showed up in flu game Air Jordan 12s, the red and black ones. And he then wore the last shot Air Jordan 14s for warm-ups. Shout out to the Utah Jazz. There's a reason why he was wearing those 2 Jordans. Because the flu game, of course, came in the finals versus the Utah Jazz, and the last shot Air Jordan 14s that he wore, of course, those inspired by MJ's last shot to seal his 6th and final championship, which also came against the Utah Jazz. So no surprise there that Steph wore those in this game. And then, this is interesting, normally he shows up in the arena in a pair of shoes, he warms up in a different pair of shoes, and then he wears his own shoes during the game, although I think last game he might have wore a pair of Jimmy Butler shoes. I can't recall. But today he showed up and he wore Sabrina Ionescu shoes because Sabrina in town and was at the game tonight also to see her new head coach, Chris DeMarco, Warriors assistant coach, is going to leave the Warriors bench in the middle of the season to go join the New York Liberty of the WNBA and become Sabrina Ionescu's new coach. Of course, Sabrina, a Bay Area native, grew up in the East Bay, went to Miramonte High School, then went to the University of Oregon. Steph admitted post-game that he was trying to get Sabrina to sign with Curry Brand as she was leaving Oregon. But he referenced how difficult it is to get Oregon athletes to leave Nike because Nike, after all, is essentially the University of Oregon. And her shoe, the Sabrina line, is, of course, a Nike shoe. And Steph was wearing the Sabrina 3s during the game today. And I caught Steph and Sabrina very quickly post-game down in the bowels of Chase Center. And Steph screamed to Sabrina as Steph was heading to his post-game availability and said, yeah, they worked, to Sabrina, I would imagine talking about the shoes that he wore because he put up 31 points and helped the Warriors win this basketball game with 6 made threes. So, yeah. Fun stuff there still continuing for Steph and his sneaker free agency. Wore 3 different shoes today, including wearing Nikes in an NBA game for the first time since 2013. First time since 2013, Steph wearing Nikes in a game. That's crazy. But a fun night here at Chase Center. Warriors win 134-117, and they are now 10-9 on the season. Coming up next for the Warriors, they stay here at home. They still have 3 more games left on this home slate. The Warriors, as I pull up their schedule, Houston is in town on Wednesday, 7 o'clock tip, which means pregame begins at 6. I got you covered at 6 here for Warriors Live. And then Saturday, a couple of days after Thanksgiving, Warriors still at home versus New Orleans. Kevon Looney returning. By the way, that's going to be the Kevon Looney return game. Expect a tribute video and some emotions pouring out, I would imagine, from Kevon Looney and probably Steve Kerr, based on how much I know Steve Kerr loves Kevon Looney. That game's on Saturday at 5:30, which means pregame coverage is at 4:30. I will be with you for that as well. Then the Warriors have Sunday and Monday off, and they take on the defending NBA champion OKC Thunder on Tuesday, 8 days from now, December 2nd. By the way, that's an 8 o'clock tip time. OKC in town on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, that's an NBC and Peacock game as well. That is the rest of the homestand. Houston, New Orleans, and OKC. All right, that'll do it for us tonight from Chase Center. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Randy signing off. Shout out to all of our guys back in our downtown San Francisco studios. Cam Williams, our Warriors Network coordinator, as always, for making me sound good. A special shout out to Steven Risotto, who's working not just double but like triple duty tonight, doing everything back in our studios. And thanks as well to Ken Luttrell, all the work those three guys are doing back in our studios. You're going to hear about it all tomorrow on 95.7 The Game, because we've got a lot to talk about. Niners win, Warriors win, and that's going to be the two topics, as always, on 95.7 The Game coming up tomorrow. Okay. One more time, I'm Mark Randy signing off. Warriors win 134-117. I'll talk to you coming up again on Wednesday. Until then, have a great night. I'm going to go home and watch the Niners game for the first time. Everyone else, get some sleep bright and early tomorrow morning, the morning roast at 6 a.m. I'll talk to you coming up later. All right, have a good night. Thanks for listening to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Take the game! Take the game! And what happened? The quarterback there, Bryce Young's like, you know what? It's very polite. It's very polite of you to try to give us the game.